Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And today is another very exciting day because I am joined by two absolutely amazing people. They are the one and only Rachel Vaughan and Ben Hawkes, the co-founders of the Ley Love Down Project. Rachel and Ben, welcome to the show.
Thank you. That was an intro that stretched credulity in terms of its professionalism and delivery. That was magnificent. Thank you.
You loved it, didn't you? Every moment.
No, I did. When I do these sorts of things, I will collapse into fits of giggles. I will hear something. Maybe I'll see a pigeon. Maybe I'll just forget what I'm doing. But you delivered that bad boy like an Exocet missile.
That's
a thing
what
of beauty.
It was just the aim. It was perfect, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All the practice
100%.
before leading to this very moment.
Yeah, it was like a British drone strike on a Russian air defense radar, which the media haven't heard about yet, but
this is
they will.
great.
They will.
I'm so stoked that you guys are here together because you are doing something very incredible. But before we get into that, we've obviously had Rachel on the show a number of times now, and I'm so grateful to have you back and sharing the screen together. And I thought what I'd do, because Ben, this is your first time on the show, and there will be people who already know about you and your amazing wit and humor. But maybe you can just give a bit of an intro as to who you are and how you came to be here right now in this very moment in time.
How I came to be.
Yeah.
I think everybody listening can approximate an answer to that particular part of the question. Although life is quite complicated. Did I come from a portal? Did I not? Did all of the other sperm get sent a signal to leave me the fuck alone because I was the chosen one? These are all questions that we need to answer at some point in our lives. But my human name is Ben Hawkes, or Benjamin Hawkes. I was given a Hebrew name for no other reason than my parents like a Hebrew name. I have no middle name. I was named Ben to piss off my grandmother because my grandmother wanted to call her dog Ben. My mother and my grandmother didn't get on particularly well, so my mum wanted to put a stake in the ground on Ben, so she called me Ben, so the dog couldn't be called Ben. There's a whole thing there. That's there's a lot of familial dispute that goes on in my timeline. What am I? I have a podcast called The Wake Up. I'm currently working out whether to stop doing that podcast because it's all got a bit dense and dark, and I think Rachel agrees it's time to move on to something else. I run a couple of businesses. I have a child, I have a wife, I have a garden. I do all sorts of interesting things when I'm not being interviewed on podcasts, which is rarely. I'm constantly being interviewed on podcasts. It's become an absolute imposition, believe me. But yeah, I mean, if I'm truly honest with you, I react very well to questions rather than propositions. So if you want to know something, my brain always works so much better if you reach in there and grab it through the form of a question. If you ask me a question, I will literally talk for 7 to 12 minutes. And anybody who's listened to a podcast with me on it will know this to be absolutely true.
I have seen you do that work. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So course tip when dealing with the Hawks, ask it a question and Hawksbot 2.0 will just fucking go. But hopefully that's a reasonable introduction for anybody who's still listening.
No, I absolutely love it. And I'm so grateful that you're here. And Rachel, you of course connected with Ben in a very, what's the word? Synchronistic way, I guess you could call it. And you knew that you were going to be working with an Englishman and to do this amazing project. Do you want to maybe chat a bit about that? And then we can ask Ben some more questions so he can talk for 12 minutes.
Fabulous. Yeah, I'm going to be sitting back for most of this and just listening and laughing, I imagine. Yeah, it was very synchronistic. So I had an interview organized in December on I think it was the 19th, and that fell through with another Englishman, quite a well-known one. That fell through because of technical difficulties, and it was just a weird sort of series of events. And then I interviewed with Ben it was with Ben first, and then the synchronistic events happened where I couldn't interview with the second gentleman. And it was interesting because I knew I had this particular looking gentlemen in the vision that I was given that would be helping me. And these two individuals look quite alike.
True.
Yeah, so
True.
yeah, it was pretty weird. So I just knew that I needed this person to help, but I had no idea that Ben would hit the ground running the way that he has with this project. And I couldn't have done what he's done. I had the idea that we needed to do this, but Ben has all the nous and the gifts to make it happen. And it has happened. And it's awesome. So thank you, Ben, again.
Oh, buddy, thank you.
Yeah.
Sent me off in a whole new direction with the velocity of an artillery shell. It's been a very, very interesting journey.
Yeah.
Oh, and the way that you guys work together and just complement what each other are doing, because I mean, recently you have done the masterclass, which I will link in the description. We'll get to everything, obviously, but you know, Ben's brought together the music. Rachel, you've brought in the ley lines and the portals and all that sort of stuff. I guess maybe whoever wants to jump in to give a bit of a synopsis of what is Ley Love Down, what is the Ley Love Down Project, Save the Ley Lines, Save the World. What does that mean and what it's about? What is it about for those who may have not heard of it yet?
Well, essentially, it's a phased operation in a war, ultimately. Yeah. And I've thought about this a lot in the last couple of days, because I'm speaking at a festival in Shropshire, in Shifnal in Shropshire, called the Soul Revolution Festival on Friday. And the program just says Ben Hawkes, Save the Ley Lines, Save the World. And I've been writing my talk, and I realized, because I see a lot of things through the context of warfare. I was in uniform for 10 years as a reservist, as an instructor, for bizarrely the youth wing of the British Army, and I was going to join the army as a career. So I see things in that context, and I was thinking about war while I was writing this speech. And when you talk about war, amateurs talk about tactics and professionals talk about logistics. And logistics is the business of making sure that all the bullets, all the guns, all the tanks, all the artillery, all that sort of stuff is in the right place to do what it needs to do at the right time. And if you're going to win a war, you need to own the communication space. You need to own the logistics space. And I was thinking about Rachel's masterclass last week, and specifically about her description of Alfred Wainwright and looking at a landscape in Herefordshire, which I'm hoping to drive through on the way up tomorrow, and understanding that there are these natural channels that run throughout the earth. And I flip that together with I'm rereading Laurie Ladd's Divine Design at the moment, and there is this proposition that the earth is two elements. It is a consciousness or an energy. Well, it's a consciousness, an energetic body, and a physical body. That's actually three elements. I apologize. And if you think of ley lines in the context of that construct, it's very simple. Ley lines are chakras. And chakras, in terms of the human body, is the easiest way to get from one place to another. And if you think of roads, you think of communications, it's the easiest way to get from one place to the other. And if you're looking to fight a war, you first look at where the motorways are, because you need to move things from A to B. So the baddies, whatever you want to call them, know this. They know this very specifically. They understand these things, and they understand you need to own these logistic channels on this earth, in this realm, in order to win the war. And if you can own them, if you can block them, then basically you're done, because your opposition can't get to each other. They can't talk to each other. They can't move material around. When we talk about material, we're actually talking about energy here, which is the only thing ultimately. So if you own all of this real estate, if you own all of these channels, if you own all this ability to communicate from one node or terminal or portal or vortices from one other, then you win the war, because the other guys can't talk to each other. They can't get to each other. Now, Rachel had the insight. I'm articulating this in a different way, but ultimately this is the insight that Rachel has had, that for thousands of years, millennia, even, those people who seek to dominate us have dominated this real estate, has dominated this communication system. And the time has come ultimately for us to take it back, for us to go onto that real estate and own it once again. You know, I'm a metaphor madman, and I think when we originally spoke about it after that podcast, Rachel, we were talking about Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows truly good films when they see them, they'll be aware of Ghostbusters 2, and the preposition or the setup with that was all of the old subway tunnels and various things have been clogged in New York City. Because I've never been to New York City. I have a vision of it as an absolute fucking hellhole or a hellmouth, probably more under a Democratic governor and mayor. But the idea of Ghostbusters 2 was all of these channels had been blocked with negative energy. And the guys in the Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Pullman, Winston, and Harold, I forget his name, but he was the writer. They got onto the Statue of Liberty. Irony of ironies, because obviously that's Lucifer the light bearer anyway, but that's not important for the purposes of this narrative. They got onto the Statue of Liberty and got out, and they inspired positive feeling in the city of New York again for the first time in a couple of 100 years, I assume. And in doing so, they unclogged the channels. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do. Using something probably slightly less Illuminati-esque, we are getting people out on the leys to own them once again, because the land belongs to us. You know, I don't know what anyone thinks about the Bible, but it says it very fucking clearly. The land belongs to us. We need to get, and by us, I mean the people, not certain human beings, not the 3,500 around the world that own this realm currently, not for long though, you're on notice. We want to get people out there to own this real estate once more and use the weapon we've all been given, which is this, the heart, which is what, 60 times more powerful than this, the mind. They've got us in the mind for millennia. That's how they get you. We've all got energy within us that extends out to 12 feet. You get two people in, you've got an army. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people out together specifically. Go with a friend. It's much more fun. Out onto the leys, these energy centers, these hearts of the world, and sing and love and be in a state of joy. And if we do that, we win, ultimately. It's that simple. And we know we'll win. And Rachel said this very eloquently. We've got this space now between the loss and the win, where we know we're going to win, but we're only going to win if we engage in the win, which is a bit, you know, time isn't a linear thing. Again, we've been lied to. So you have to kind of bend your head around that. But what we need people to do is own the win. And by owning the win, we'll win the peace. And if we win the peace, potentially, this never happens again. And all of that can come through 1 + 2 people getting on a ley line and singing. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. I love it so much. And I love that you use the Ghostbusters 2 metaphor, because
Why would you not?
yeah, I remember watching it recently, like when I say recently, probably 6 months ago, thinking of the power of the slime underneath, and then they bring it out and then they're singing and and this is exactly what we're doing, isn't it, with this project?
100%. It's about human potential. It's about humans as weapons, and weapons in the last war. And I mean, with the podcast, the reason I asked Rachel on was because I felt like I was playing at it. Now, I was having fun. I was talking to interesting people, but I figured if we're in a spiritual war, then I needed to understand the nature of evil. You know, you got to stare it in the face. And Rachel, God knows, has done it enough in her life. So I wanted to talk to someone who had stared it in the face and bested it, who'd not come off second best, had come off number one, had that strength, that resolve, that resilience. And it was a turning point for me, because I realized the nature of the enemy we face, but also the fragility. Because Rachel, you talk about your father, a superficially powerful man, but actually quite a fragile man.
Yeah.
And with lots of insecurity and weakness.
Yes. One of his greatest issues was that he never had a title. He felt like he was just the body boy. He had enormous power and he was physically ridiculously strong, but he didn't have what the doctors and the judges and the other very high up people, the politicians that he felt were telling him what to do, had. And it's interesting because his mother had an Order of Australia medal and his grandfather was the head of the Freemasons. So, you know, he had this big chip on his shoulder to best them and never did. He was a mass murderer. That's all he managed to do.
Yeah, that's not exactly an achievement, is it?
No.
And this is the nature of who we face. They're weak. They second guess themselves. They're insecure, and they're terrified. They are absolutely terrified, and they're terrified for good reason, for really, really good reason. Because if you're listening to this podcast, the algorithm of the divine has picked you up, and you are here for a very specific reason. You're here to help. You're here to muck in. You're here to do something kinetic. And when I say kinetic, I don't mean go outside with a baseball bat, find your nearest judge or policeman. What I mean is kinetic, as in getting out on the ground and engaging with this fight. Because one of my bugbears about the truth movement, the freedom movement, whatever you want to call it, is hopes and prayers. Now I'm sending hopes and prayers to you. Okay, I get that. Prayers are good, meditation, sending out good vibes, all that kind of great stuff. But there comes a point where you're going to have to leave your house. You're going to have to link hands with someone else. You're going to have a conversation. You're going to have to find it within yourself. And again, this is why we were cooped up for years and years in fucking lockdown, especially in Australia, such a special place, because people wanted to take away our innate ability and intuition and instinct to connect with other human beings. You know, we live in rabbit hutches, and that only got worse during lockdown. But again, coming back to my point there, what we need, and this isn't just Ley Love Down, by the way, this is everything. We need people to go outside and talk to other people.
Yeah.
We need people to build community. We need people to recognize the common humanity in others and hold hands, be it metaphorically or actually. You know, you don't want to freak anybody out, but to get together and talk. Because two hearts within 12 feet of each other, I know it's logarithmic. It's like the frequency scale. If you go from 295 to 300 on the frequency scale, you're not going 5. You're going 5 to the power of 10.
Yeah.
And if you link hands and link energy with somebody, you're not just doubling. It's logarithmic. It's 10x, it's 20x, it's 30x. Imagine what 3 can do. Imagine what 10 can do. Now, that's why I really wanted to do this festival on Friday. I wanted to see what we could achieve by getting, I don't know, 100 people in a barn and talking to them about this and see if they knew what potential they had. Because that's how we're going to win. Now, we're not going to win with elections. We're not going to win with wars. We're not going to win with protests even. Although those are useful, we're going to win just simply with togetherness. And I don't mean in the kumbaya sense. I mean, again, one of the big problems with the freedom movement, again, I've got to call it something, is this kumbaya attitude of sending love and light. You know, integrity doesn't just mean being a good guy. It does mean that, but that's not just what it means. Or a good girl, by the way. I'm not sexist, but there are only 2 genders. I need everybody to realize that. One of the funniest things I've seen today is an Amazon screenshot with there are multiple genders for a t-shirt. Guess what type you can get in? Men and women. Fuck you. Fuck you, gender. Anyway, sorry. Potty mouth. One of the things we've got to realize is that love and light just won't do the job. And integrity is not just about I've remembered what I was saying now. Integrity is not just about being a good guy or girl. It's about integrating the darkness, about understanding it, and then transmuting it and turning it into pure love. Now, people who meet me don't necessarily think I'm a really nice guy. Most of them do. Most people are smart. But what I am is a guy with complete integrity. I've only just learned to be that. But when you find somebody like that, not like me, this isn't about me, but when you find someone who's integrated, they won't necessarily kind of greet you with a smile and a kumbaya, but they will do exactly what they say. They will stand up for you. Whether they like what you say or not, they will allow you space to say it. And that's the world we're moving into. Love is not this kind of romantic, fragile, what's the word I'm looking for? Love isn't this kind of dopey thing that we've been taught by Bridgerton or whatever. It's just it's just a recognition that we're all one. It's a recognition that I'm the same as you and you're the same as me, that we're all made of the same stuff. That's true love, being the same to everybody. Again, I warned you at the start of this podcast, you asked me one thing and I will speak. I don't remember what the question was.
I don't even know if there was a question.
I don't know either. I'm looking at the clock and 30 minutes has fucking gone.
You're on fire, Ben. Don't worry.
You were
Doing
wet.
well.
Yeah. On fire. I agree. Yes. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily want to because Rachel's here as well. And she's at least as interesting as I am.
No, you're both bloody fabulous, and I'm so glad you've joined forces to do this. I know, Rachel, you've done so much research and study when it comes to identifying ley lines, portals. You in the masterclass, you talk about Green Man. There's so much there. Did you want to speak a little bit about that, especially for people who haven't looked at the masterclass yet, which like I said before, I will link that below so you can check out all of this magic. It is so good. But yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So I want to start off with just thanking Ben for his amazing metaphor, as these channels are roads, and they have literally become roads, because what happens is ley lines are a magnetic frequency, and they act as corridors or channels, 3D linear concentrations of frequency, both sound and light, that travel across the Earth's surface. They also travel, an amazing gentleman chimed in on the masterclass the other day, a gentleman called Trevor, to say that they can be underground, they can be above ground, they can be stargates, they can go directly vertical as well. So these linear concentrations of light and sound frequency and magnetic frequency, as they travel through places like endemic forests, the trees and plants try to avoid growing within them. So you get these perfect channels of, least resistance. Animals, people for millennia have traveled these paths. Romans paved them, basically. You've got these channels of energy. If you're going to walk through a forest, you go through where you can get through. So they have become roads, and they are literally a repository for the Akashic record, which is a form of universal consciousness. So that's past, present, future, all knowledge, all thoughts, all actions on Earth. So we've got a channel of least resistance. You can move through it. It's a higher frequency than the residential frequency around the lays, or a different frequency. And I've got to be careful about talking about frequency too, because we're standing on the shoulders of gentlemen like Rory Duff, geobiologist extraordinaire, who has done extensive research on this, and I do reference him quite a bit when I'm teaching on this, as well as Alfred Watkins. So when you've got these incredible channels of frequency, and you can control the energy of the Earth by pumping in either negative or positive intent, you can control the Earth. Basically, you can run the place. And that's what Satanists and really dark people, Freemasons, have known about this for a very, very long time. Native peoples have known about this for a very long time. They still know about this. And this is part of the reason why so many native peoples across Western countries have been absolutely decimated, because those that want power here do not want them doing the incredibly positive work that they do in those areas. We've got sacred ceremony and sacred places that have been fed with beautiful energy for millennia. We've also got other places where we know that there were human sacrifices occurring, over hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, and as part of some of those ancient cultures. But some of that I still don't believe in history anymore, so I don't know how much of that is actually true. But we do certainly have now, unfortunately, a group of people, very dark-souled people, who will do the most horrific things in those spaces to try and keep everything at a low frequency. So third dimensional frequency. What we're coming up to, I believe, as we come into what Rory Duff has described as permanent harmony time in December of this year, we are coming into a fifth dimensional state. People have been talking about this for a long time. I didn't really understand it. And it started to filter through, and I started to think, well, maybe that's a possibility. I couldn't imagine how it would happen. And then I was watching Rory Duff speak with Pam Gregory recently, and he said, literally, we've gone from, so if you look at the solstices and equinoxes, there are 4 dates throughout the year: 21st of June, 21st of September, 21st of December, and 21st of March. And on those particular dates, for hundreds of years, there is a harmonization of all the ley lines across the Earth for a period of time. Now, Rory describes that it used to be for hours at a time, or sometimes it would be days, or it's been accruing in time. He said in an interview I saw him do about a year ago, or a bit less, that we had about 180 days, 45 days either side of these equinoxes and solstices, where the harmony time was happening. Well, he's announced in this latest interview with Pam Gregory about 4 weeks ago that we're actually coming into a permanent harmony time where all the layers are going to be in the same frequency together. That actually literally is a bringing in of fifth dimensional frequency. So we've literally won the war. When he said that, it's just like all the fear. I didn't have much fear from about 2021, September of 2021 onwards. For some reason, all the fear and the anxiety of what all the crap was going on left me. And this has just been I really do feel we're at that absolute turning point. We've been at many different turning points, but this is what we're seeing now. We're already seeing all of the propaganda unravel in so many different ways, particularly with the COVID scam. But what we're going to see coming up over the next 4, 5, 10 years is a destruction of all the satanic setups, all the the education system, health, all of those things that are actually the opposite of what they say they are. It's not education, it's a dumbing down. It's not health, it's trying to kill us. All of that is going to disintegrate and we're going to rebuild it. And as Ben said before, we need people to go out and actively create communities. And part of what we're doing, I now realise, is actually helping people to create those communities. We're getting people who are light workers coming together to make these beautiful sounds with the intent of freedom and prosperity for humanity, for all light souls on earth. That's building a community that's very special.
Yeah, it really is. It's so special. And I mean, you guys started like the two of you, well, Rachel, and then you connected, and you think about all the people that are already involved and doing this stuff, and more people are just coming in from everywhere, all over the world, and bringing in stories and what they're doing and how they're doing it. Some people are dancing in the ley lines and bringing the movement and singing. They're playing the song that Ben wrote, the Ley Love Down song, and just bringing it all to life. We're transmuting the slime that is in Ghostbusters 2, and we are changing the world one ley line at a time. And the beautiful thing is, like, it doesn't have to all be at one exact time, does it? Because like Ben, you were saying before, time isn't linear. It's everything is happening now. So, we are making that magic happen no matter, even if we're at the dishes, doing the dishes and singing Ley Love Down, I mean, that is freaking changing everything. And I think, Ben, you also touched on it, and Rachel, we've spoken about this so many times, just how powerful we are.
Yeah.
We are so
100%.
powerful. And that's what you're sparking in so many people too by doing this, is reminding people of the power of who they are. And just by getting out and connecting with people, but also bringing this to life, I mean, it is making such an astronomical difference, isn't it?
Well, this isn't an exclusive activity. It's one of the things that we keyed into quite early on, was that when this reaches a inflection point, and it will reach an inflection point somewhere around 2025, we think, it will start to bring in people who are dimly aware in the cultural zeitgeist that something called leys exist. They will have been alienated and put off by walking into a shop that sells crystals. They previously will have thought that people who do things like this are cranks. We will start to bring in these people who simply see the wonder and the joy in the everyday activity of getting out onto nature. One of the biggest scams that has ever been perpetuated on the human race, hue, light, man, made manifest. We are literally light in human bodies. Everybody needs to remember that. One of the biggest frauds is to perpetuate this separation between us and nature. I'm currently sat in a prefabricated structure with something non-conductive between me and the earth. Almost everybody is. I've never met anyone who did a podcast outside. If they have, all power to you. But we have been literally separated from Mother Earth. And we have been made to be afraid of that by brainwashing, by this matrix, by this overlay, by this energetic face that's been put on the earth. And one of my favorite things to do is to go and sit in nature and just look at everything and just forget what it's called. And it's a really interesting exercise. It doesn't really matter where you are, but just look out. Forget that something's called a tree. Forget that something's called a telegraph pole. Forget that something's called a road. Forget that something's called a house. And you start to realize And I'm not one of those human minimizer people that says we're a cancer on the earth, blah, blah, blah. Complete garbage. We're partners with Mother Earth. We're not separate from her. We're not diminished in terms of our context with her. We're all part of one ecosystem. We belong here. Don't ever forget that. But you get a sense of how insignificant the constructs of humanity are. And you forget that all of this stuff has come within a reasonably small period of time. Now, actually, I'm going to have to remove that from the record because Tartaria. But you forget that all of this stuff is just an add-on. It's an affectation. It's a bolt-on to nature, that everything's there. Rachel talked about education. It's not education, it's schooling. Education means to lead out, to find inspiration, to find what you're good at. Manifestly, that's not what schools do in this day and age. Things like health is the reverse of what it is. It's not a health industry, it's a sickness industry. It only exists to put oil-based things into your body. But actually, everything is out there, and we've been separated from it. And we're just starting to come back. We don't need to reject modernity. We don't need to reject central heating. We don't need to reject antibiotics or the propulsion engine. We don't need to do any of that. We just need to come back to this point where we're in sync with nature, we're in harmony with nature, and we're part of nature. So we need to be in harmony with ourselves as well. And we can see, and we've sat with, we've sat with our friend Fergus, and talked about the timeline of this, and he has access to some people telling him things as well. This is Fergus, the author of 180, Unlearn the Lies You've Been Taught to Believe, who's a very important man in the timeline of all of this. We can foresee a time in 2025 where we just get to a tipping point where we start to bring in the normies, and they start to go, well, hang on, there's people over there singing on a ley line. I'm attracted to that. Yeah. I'm pulled towards that. And everyone's going to start feeling that. Bizarrely enough, yesterday, or day before yesterday, my daughter's nursery was England Day. And first of all, I thought, fantastic. People being proud of actually who they are, not being proud of someone else. Be proud of everybody. It's absolutely fine, but it's good to be proud of where you come from and who you are. One of the things they did was the maypole dance, and was singing in a circle together. And then you start to see, you think about history, you think about what's come before, you think about May Day, you think about Beltane, which isn't what you think it is, by the way, dear listener. It's good, not bad. It's been stolen, it's been reversed. And you start to realize that this idea of getting out into the land together and singing in a way that is integrated, in a way that is organized, it's perfectly natural. It's perfectly natural. It's that we have been pushed away from each other, away from nature. We've been made to be scared of nature. That's what 2030 is. That's what this horrible agenda is. It's to get people separate from nature and forget who we are. And all Ley Love Down is ultimately is a way of reconnecting people to the earth plane and to the earth energy body. We don't even have to call it that. Because do you remember that I went through a phase, Rachel, of wanting to do a massive psyop and like get people involved when they didn't even know they were getting involved and something like that. And maybe I'll print that out, can be put in a museum when all of this is done. But the idea is very simple. Get out, be with nature, be together and sing and have joy, be happy, be in peace. Everything else, all that stuff we're saying about energy channels and winning the spiritual war, it's all true, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true or be an issue or be a motivating factor or be a driver. The driver can just be, get out, be happy, be in the sun, be with your fellow humans. And it could be that simple. And I think we'll get to that. We'll start turning up on local news, local radio, and then it will be done. And right quick. All we have to do to win the war today, it's very simple. First thing you do, be nice to somebody. Then the matrix starts to dissolve. That's what we're talking about in terms of synchronicity and this harmony time. The matrix ultimately is an energetic field. It helps me to think of it as an energetic field, which keeps us from seeing the truth. Yeah. A lot of people are sharing on Twitter and Instagram that Princess Sophia of Bulgaria has suddenly changed appearance, and she's gone from this really beautiful, pretty girl to this slightly skeletal thing. And a lot of people going, no, she's been in the gym, she's buff, she's looking good. But you kind of think, well, is that the case? Or is the energetic overlay that we've lived with all this time Is it starting to dissolve?
Mm.
I don't know. It's an idea. Keep a
Mm.
lookout. You know, you might start seeing demons walking around when it's not Halloween, you know. And that's probably as a result of you, dear listener, dear watcher, dear viewer, watcher. That was
That's
biblical.
very interesting, because I was only talking about this earlier today. That veil that descends on most children around about the age of 5, that stops them from seeing fairies and stops them from having, you know, imaginary friends and being open to the nature spirits and all of those things. That veil comes down when a child goes into the education system, the schooling system, are usually around about 5 to 8. That veil is lifting.
Yes.
So what you've described, perhaps some might describe as a witch's glamour. I'm not saying this person's a witch, that you just described this princess, but there could be something along those lines. That glamour is not there anymore. They cannot manipulate the way that we see. They're not manipulating. The veil is in many ways the matrix. It's that dumbing down. It's that not realizing you're a spiritual being.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's lifting. That's lifting. There's only little wisps of it left. And as we come into that permanent harmony time, I believe that's when we'll see that it's gone completely. So it's a very interesting time to be alive.
Yeah. Interesting and exciting, I reckon.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. I can't wait for the nuclear war. That's gonna be nah, that ain't happening. Don't worry about it.
And that was the other thing too. You talked about, you know, going out into nature and feeling joy. The other thing is to stop feeling fear. Because that's exactly why the fear porn is there, purely to harness the fear and to keep us at that low frequency, which stops us from ascending. Let go of the fear. And what do you have really to fear? Is it death? Well, we just return back to where we came from, but usually in a better state, because we've worked really hard here in each lifetime. So when you pare it down, I had a really good healer once who I'd get into a panic because I've had quite a bit of trauma, and every time she'd just say, Rachel, what's the main thing you're afraid of? And we'd pare it down to death, and she'd say, but you've been dead and you've come back, so why are you afraid of that? And it's like, oh, for God's sake. And I'd be like, oh. So thank you, Shell, if you're listening. Yeah, she always had this, you know, way of just taking it all back down to, this is not something to be afraid of.
Yeah, we're eternal souls. Literally, we have nothing to be afraid of. My big thing is shame. Being ashamed of not being my matrix avatar of breadwinner and, you know, husband, father, leader, all these kind of, which are positive male archetypes ultimately. My fear is not coming up to that, and it's all dissolving, but I still wake up with this. I don't know if you guys get this. You get this completely out of context, out of place fear around the solar plexus, and you're like, what the fuck is that? And my old thing used to be I'd audit it and go, what am I worried about? What am I worried about? Come on, human. But then all you're doing is actually just giving a label to the feeling, and you give a label to the feeling, it becomes an emotion, it becomes an emotion, it becomes a thought, becomes a thought, becomes an action, suddenly it's reality. Where the 5D way, the smart way, is just going, okay, no fucks given. Let's get on with the day. What do I have to be afraid of? Death? Nah, don't worry about it. And people are waking up to that fact. You can see it here in the United Kingdom with the general election. People are losing faith in authority, or more properly, they're just ignoring it. This thing called authority, this thing where fact lives, where expertise lives, this nebulous place that's somewhere, probably under the Vatican. People just don't give a fuck anymore. And that's so cool that the veil is just lifting. I mean, I used to be a member of a private members club connected deeply with the Conservative Party. I used to hang around in Mayfair in my made-to-measure suit, in the right places, in the right hotels, drinking the right drinks. And now I'm in a podcast with you fine ladies talking about fucking ley lines.
It was always going to end up. It was just going to end up that way.
Completely. But I challenge anyone to look at the world and say it's not completely changing. I mean, they're doing so much hard work. Bless them. If you're listening, controllers, bless you. Well done. I mean, honestly, bird flu, fantastic. Really good. Nuclear exchange between Ukraine and whoever, brilliant. Great job. The problem is, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Because they keep throwing parties and no one goes.
Yeah.
Monkey flu. No fucks given.
Yeah.
Ukraine. No fucks given. Bird flu. No fucks given. Just don't care. Oh, fuck. What are we going to do now? We're not going to have to try a nuclear war again. And that's ultimately what they will try, dear listeners. They'll try and throw a nuclear war. No one will go. It's going to be amazing. What do you guys think, right? This is a theory put forward by my mentor. We call him our man in the fifth. I won't mention his name because he's a tech founder and he's got a profile. But he has this theory that as the matrix starts to dissolve and as these new energies come in, that people who were baddies or potentially flirting with being baddies become good in and of themselves because of the influx of these energies. So I'm thinking of people like Donald Trump, people like Viktor Orban, people like Nigel Farage, people like Ricardo Bossi in Australia. These figures who are kind of on the fence between the baddies and the goodies, potentially opportunistic, potentially something else, are actually becoming good and being given orders, so to speak, by the good energies coming in. How do you guys, does that resonate with you guys?
I have a theory that a lot of the powers that were have attachments that puppet them, that control them, much as schizophrenics have attachments that tell them what to do. And they're often auditory and they can give very precise instruction. So these people might think it's their inner voice telling them what to do, but those attachments cannot exist in the frequency that we are upgrading to. So it actually, that very much supports what your mentor or this gentleman is describing. That fits perfectly with what I see. What about you, Nerita?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, but my feeling is that as the frequency becomes what it's supposed to be and we strip everything away that's not supposed to be there, like you were saying, Rachel, these things can't exist in that frequency. It's going to fall away. Again, like Ghostbusters, but like it can only be a certain frequency. And I think, people talk about the two worlds split or the two earths or, I mean, who ultimately we know right at the very wherever we are, the observer of all of this game. And I guess part of it is finding out, but I do feel like it's a frequency thing as well. And that these people, they're either going to stay or fall away. Does that resonate with you too, guys?
Well, it's like the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. We're using films, specifically 80s films, as the backbone of what we're talking about. At the end, when they open the Ark, you've got these evil ones. They literally can't survive. The Gestapo guy, the French explorer guy, the Nazi guy, all of this energy comes out. This pure, that's probably pure love. It's quite destructive, but destructive to the bad. As I say, integrity doesn't necessarily mean love and light all the time. They just cease to exist. They melt, don't they? And that scared the fuck out of me as a kid. Because it was, face melting. And then everything turns to dust. You do get this impression that once the lid is open on the Ark, that once all of this frequency comes from galactic center, wherever it is, if we want to locate it physically, Rachel, that makes absolute sense to me, that they simply won't be able to operate within this frequency, within this domain, because we've just completely taken it over by being open to it and allowing it to anchor. And that's the shitness of living through this right now. Is my theory is when you wake up with just that awful feeling, what's happening is you're just being given your quota for the day. Like, okay, you came here to transmute the dark to light, so here you go. I mean, it's like being in a prison camp ultimately. You've got to dig that hole today. Right, here's some shit to transmute and deal with today. Happy light working. Fuck again. But at some point, it's just going to lift, and we will live in love, and we'll live in joy, and everything will be cool. And we'll all wear light linen clothes and cook in communal kitchens. Now, there's a great book. It's a terrible book, actually, called What Will Happen in 5D. I'll find it as we're talking, but it's just hilarious. Apparently, no one's going to drink wine, bad times. No one's going to have sex, bad times. No one's going to eat meat, bad times. And everyone will live in kind of these unisuits made of linen. I'll find this book just so I can kind of call it out. You know, everybody's allowed their point of view. Obviously, free speech is an absolute. You've got to allow people to speak whether you like what they're saying or not. But this is just such a funny book.
It sounds like the woke version, Ben.
Yeah, the woke version
going
of 5D.
into a woke 5D.
Oh, can you imagine?
I hope not.
God, I just got through this shit and here I am again. My God in heaven. I'm just going through shit. Talking of my God in heaven, I'm just going through my my Kindle. Kundalini Awakening for Beginners, Lightworkers 101, Channeling the Council of Light, Infinite Possibilities, Fasting the Mind, What Nurses Saw. Oh, and lots of books about the Falklands War. Do you know what? I've just remembered I deleted this book because I thought it was such garbage. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard of AJ Roberts, but he's a very connected guy. I mean, connected to the field. And we were talking about this book and he just said, yeah, I read that. It says I can't drink wine. I fucking hate it. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You can live in love and light and still have a drink. I don't drink, by the way. I stopped. It didn't work for me. But yeah, when we ascend, we can still like go to rock concerts and stuff, can't we?
Bloody hell.
But it won't be the negative frequency that we're used to having, and they won't be throwing up the devil horns. I think that's the main difference. But we can still drink wine and stuff. But it's interesting how many people the higher the frequency of the soul, because again, I read auras, the less capable they are of imbibing of alcohol. Yeah. And I see that across the board. I can't drink anymore either. I've had to give up spirits in my 20s. I had to give up wine in my 30s, and I gave up cider, which was the only thing I could drink at the end of that in my 40s. And I don't miss it.
Yeah.
No, me either. No. I still go to pubs though. I love pubs.
Love the vibe of the pubs. I'm the same though with the alcohol too. Like it's just, and it's called spirits for a reason, isn't it? As well, like, you know, you're cracking open and there's, you know, but there's balance and things like that too. But yeah, you love still going to the pub and rocking out to the pub band while you're there and talking stories, I'm imagining, Ben.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's a bit of a program because I see pubs as freedom. Anytime you're in a pub in the middle of the day, you are basically free. You are a sovereign soul, especially if it's a weekday. Now that's fantastic. Wednesday afternoon in the pub. Truly no man is your master. But no, I love the pub. I was talking to this lady at Toddler Dance yesterday, and we were talking about this kind of mismatch that has happened between the sexes, and that I'm quote unquote man enough to realize that we as blokes, we are here to support the Sheilas ultimately. I'm putting it in lingo for your listeners, but we're here to protect women because women are the creators. Our job is to create safe space around women to do their job, which is to nourish and create and give birth and all this wonderful stuff. That's not to say we're not important and we're not creators ourselves, but that's basically our job. And your job is to create the next, but also to help us with our spiritual side. There's got to be that reciprocity. And again, we talk about the inverse of what's happened in this particular realm. The feminism movement wasn't about empowerment. It was about getting women out of the house into work, to disconnect them from their offspring and disconnect them from the family to destroy that unit and obviously increase the tax base as well. And you can start to see that this contract has been broken between the sexes, this contract of supporting and reciprocity and energy exchange. And we're very lucky that A, we have lives that support this, and B, I've got a few things going on that allow this, but my wife doesn't necessarily work. She works when she wants to. She does something she loves. She's a dog trainer. And we feel that's incredibly important because who better to grow up, who better to bring up our child than their mother? And a lot of people, it's not that they don't get that. They know that on an intuitive level. They have a knowing about that, but they're not able to because they have to kind of drop kick them into a nursery at 12 months because they need to go out and survive again. And again, that's something that's going to break down. I'm not a QFS advocate, but it's going to break down at some point that there will be a situation where debt slavery is gone, the debt cycle is gone, etc., etc. That we'll be able to get back to that. And that would make the world so much more successful than a situation where the parameters of success and money, wealth comes in many forms, and a lot of people, and I don't think that's a particularly hippie thing to say. And coming from an ardent capitalist like myself, a meritocrat, someone who believes massively in meritocracy, we don't have to be out there keeping score all the time. Again, I don't know where that started, but manifestly I'm coming to a conversational cul-de-sac that as the matrix dissolved, we're going to start, the sexes will start getting on again, I think, because this unnatural, this unnative fight between us will just fizzle out.
Yeah, it's
God
interesting.
willing.
The sexual revolution also was not about feminism. It was about women breaking down barriers so that they would just become more promiscuous, because that is more beneficial to the pornography industry and many other industries. So, it certainly wasn't about us being empowered, just as, the abortion industry, if I dare say it on YouTube, isn't about women being empowered either. It's more about it's a minefield, but you shouldn't be going off and having one of those because you can't be bothered with taking precautions. It's not just an easy solution. It's not something that you can just go and do without having some sort of damage to yourself on an emotional level, on a spiritual level. Not that I'm giving anybody a hard time, and I had those things forced upon me as a child, or as I was coming into adolescence. But those supposed, the feminist movement was truly about breaking down the family and destroying the family unit. And who benefits from that? All those that want to exploit children and women and men. It's an exploitation tool, and a really horrific one. And I'm not saying we have to go back to 50s, women can't work and do what they do best. But I definitely, and one thing I really try to put across the most important thing that I do is help people to find out what it is that makes their heart sing, and assist them to find a way to make that their vocation, so that they can make a living from it, so they don't work for the man and they don't make somebody else rich. And I know, Narita, you do that also, and it's such a powerful thing to do, to help people find that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not a difficult thing to get your head around, but we've been programmed in such a way around money specifically that we are pushed down these channels of how we get access to money. And we forget, well, we don't forget, we've probably never known that money is an energy, and money flows where you push energy back out. So you have to add value in order to get money back. And what we have been bred to believe is that you have to exchange time for money, which is bizarre because, well, it's not money, for instance. Well, first of all, to get back to basics, there is no money in the world apart from gold and silver and Bitcoin. Everything else is just currency or a debt note, which again is a hell of a thing to get your head around. But we've been bred to exchange our time, which doesn't exist, for currency, which doesn't exist. So the thing that we spend most of our waking hours doing is an absolute fallacy. It's an absolute lie. It's not a fallacy. I'm not very good with definitions, but it is a lie. It doesn't exist. But as Rachel says quite rightly, if you find something that sparks joy, that you love doing, that adds value to people, where you serve people, it is one of the immutable laws of the universe, correspondence, that you will get that back. And you will get that back on a logarithmic scale. Money is created anyway. They say that out loud here in the UK. Go to the Bank of England website. They will talk about open market operations. They'll talk about credit creation. They'll talk about money market economics. I've got a load of books there. They're very boring, but basically money is created as credit on our future energy, which is then turned to debt and lent to somebody. And that's all that happens here. But we're moving into a new situation, if people allow it, where they can find something they love that is of service to others. They can push that energy out and the energy will come back. It's just the way it works. And as the matrix dissolves and all of these rules or immutables that we've lived our lives by start to disappear, we're suddenly on a level playing field. I'm starting a new training project, and I can't really talk about it much because we don't have a name for it yet. But my partner is a wonderful light worker, and she's kind of working on a different level to me because she's been at this a while longer, and her blueprint for reality is playing in the pure quantum field. You are a creator of your experience, which I completely agree with, and it's very pure. And it reminds me of that video you guys may have seen on Telegram of those two kids talking to each other. You are on Earth? Oh my God, was it as bad as they all said? Yeah, fucking was. It's like that. My partner is working at that level where manifestation to realization to creation really quick. But I'm kind of still down here in the trenches where we've got this kind of this what's left over of the 3D reality, where it's been hijacked, where people who understand how this all works and don't have our best interests at heart are working here to reverse. And again, well done, guys. Keep it up. It's fucking hilarious to reverse what's going on naturally. And I feel like I'm still in the semblance of that. But some days when I'm in the zone and I'm like, I'll send some value out and money appears in the bank account that has nothing to do with what I've just done. And that's how it's meant to be. That's how it should be. So yeah, forget all of your fears, forget all of your worries. Now is the time to find something that makes you happy. And if it makes you happy and it adds value and you're a service to somebody else, you'll be successful. You'll be successful in ways you cannot imagine right now. So yeah, listen to your Uncle Ben. If you want to be a carpenter, go be a carpenter. Be the best fucking carpenter there has ever been. I know a couple. One was called Jesus. Wrong. I'm joking. His name was Jeshua. And he wasn't born at Christmas. Listen up, kids. But yeah, now's the time. I mean, seriously, now is the time. If you want to leave your investment banker job and write books about mindful parenting, sorry, it's not parenting, because pair who rents, blah, 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 common law. It's a fucking minefield. It's something else. But just do it. JFDI. I mean, Rachel, you will get to know JFDI as we start to build our team. Do you know what that means?
Just effort, do it.
Just fucking do it.
Just fucking do it. Absolutely.
Sorry, dude. Was that an English accent?
Not really well. I've done better. I've done
What the
better.
actual fuck was that? Just fucking do it.
Back when I used to work in the corporate world, there was a English guy, and I would do it. He's like, "Mate, you sound like you're from Pakistan. What are you trying to do?" I'm like, in my head, it sounds really bloody good, but no.
It was very Lilliputian. It was not. It was good. It was a good narrator.
Thanks.
You sounded like Hugh Grant in your head, definitely.
Maybe my vocation won't be around doing English accents for people, or accents of any kind. And I've got to apologize too. I've been putting myself on mute because I've still got a bit of a cough. And if I've coughed, sorry, everyone.
No, we didn't hear.
You didn't hear
accent.
it?
No, we didn't
Just
hear
the accent. I should have muted that bit.
No, 100%. Accents are great. One of my favorite, when I drank, one of my favorite things was to go into a pub around 5 or 6 and get into conversations with people in the different accent.
Yes.
And I'd stand there for like half an hour saying, "Oh, no, I'm from Glasgow. It's fucking great. I fucking love it up there. What do you boys do?" And you speak to them for half an hour, and then they get pissed, and you get a bit pissed, and then about 30 minutes in, you just go back to your normal voice. And they're like, "Hang on, aren't you from Scotland?" No,
mate.
I don't know where you got that from. Are you fucking crazy? That's great.
That's brilliant. I do that in the cab rides. Yeah.
When they ask you to pay, you're like, "No, I'm from Pakistan. I don't understand what you're saying."
I'm not even going to do it because I know I'm going to butcher it now. Like, I just can't.
But you have to do it now.
Actually, I do, Ben. I've got to do it. I can't believe it. Is it kind of like that? I mean, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment, but I'm getting better.
That's not bad.
Not bad.
That's really good.
That's not bad, is it?
That's really good. You haven't stuffed it up at all. You've done a really good job, love.
Oh, Rachel.
Fucking hell.
Oh, my gosh.
Like Rach is like a brummie. And you're like, what were you, mate? You were. That was like an Essex girl thing going on.
An Essex, like I don't know, but really, oh my gosh, we were connected in a past life, Rachel, because obviously we were doing this and we're from wherever I'm talking from. I've lost it again. Fuck.
No, you haven't. It's still that. You sound like you're on a fag break in a telephone exchange at some point in the 60s. Narita, can you pass me Rothmans? It's kind of like that. Very cool.
Oh, it's bloody brilliant.
Yep. It's there. It's a
That's
soap
awesome.
opera. I just
had a download, Ben. The next thing after the Ley Down Project would be the Ley comedy show starring Ben, and you can bring it out and then everyone does an accent. I don't know. Maybe
well, it's a really it's a reasonable thing to say, because we're going to have to reinvent everything, aren't we?
Yeah, well, this is true. Yes.
The comedy's going to have to news. We're going to have to find a new way to do news, because people will just go, no, that's garbage. That doesn't make any sense. We'll have to redo that. Comedy will have to be redone. I mean, I was sat with Fergus having a pint of water, and we were talking about comedy, and we were sketching out this situation comedy in London with these two kind of demon catchers. I did a fucking a great category 1 catch the other day. It was and we were just thinking, what does comedy look like in the new world? Because manifestly kind of comedy has stopped being funny, and it's mostly just having a go at people with opinions like, I shouldn't put a gene editing bioweapon into my blood. So yeah, comedy's going to need to be reimagined and redone.
Can we make the news comedic? It already is to a degree when they use the stupid language that they use, but oh my God, I would watch it.
Yeah, well, you can just watch it as is. I mean, I like to watch it because you kind of compare what you saw on Telegram 48 hours ago to what's being spoken about in the news. And I ask my wife a lot, has X turned up in the news? And if she's like, yes, I saw that in the last couple of hours, I'm like, okay, does that mean a disclosure? Does that mean something else? It's really interesting. One of the things I'm really pissing my wife off with at the moment is the Princess of Wales, is Catherine Middleton, about whether she's dead or not. And Claire's like, no, you're really annoying me. There she is. She's manifestly that person. Like, no, that's not her. It really annoys her. Do you guys have an opinion on that?
Oh, she's been gone for a while.
Has she? Least 6 months. Is that psychic Rachel Vaughan speaking?
Yes, it is.
Oh, mate, thank you so much, because my wife really listens to you. Like, if I say, Rachel said this, she's like, oh, Rachel said that? Did she say anything about our new house? No, she didn't say anything about our new house. So I'm going to, when she gets back from shopping, because she's a woman, she does shopping. No, it's cool. I do shopping as well. I'll tell her about that. She's going to be so annoyed.
I'm sorry.
At you, not me.
I know. Great.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's gold. That is gold.
The fun we're going to have. The fun we're going to have.
You can put that in the comedy show.
100%. Oh, poor Catherine. I quite liked her. Is she dead? She's dead. She dead?
I got a good 6 months.
Wow.
So well and truly.
Did she know something that she wasn't meant to know?
I do think that something went wrong physically.
Right. Well, quite liked her. She genuinely seemed a light-bearing soul.
Not so sure. But then it's not something that I follow a great deal of. I'm not. I don't follow the royal family at all. So.
Plus, I'm not a psychic, so I could just be talking out of my whatever.
I don't know, Ben, because you intuited that song, and I don't think you realise, but that is a very powerful spell. It's spell casting. Very much so. It's extremely powerful and extremely positive, because what you've done, whenever you say a self-affirmation, you have to say it in the present moment.
Yes.
And the lyrics are, they are done at one point. You say, when we're done, they are done. But at one point it actually says in the sheet music, they are done. And that is putting it in the present moment. They are done. And they are. They are.
Let that be the lesson.
It's so powerful. And you have just, I guess this is a perfect place to kind of just now, like, let everyone know how they can help, what they can do. And I know, Ben, you'll say, just go out and do it. You don't need to ask for permission. Just go and start singing. But how can people connect and learn more, hear the song, download it, practice it, sing it around the house, just all that sort of stuff? Let people know how they can do that.
Well, it's all at the website, which is www.leylovedown, LEYLOVEDOWN.com. You'll find a message from myself and Rachel about what it is we're trying to do here. You'll find the lyrics and sheet music to Time to Rise. You'll find a link to SoundCloud. You'll find a bit more information about what it is we do. You'll find a link to the masterclass. You'll find the mission. The mission is save the ley line, save the world. The method is, oh shit, you'll have to edit this out. No, don't edit it out. Do not do that. Don't let me off. Don't let me off the hook. The method is to imbue. Oh, Rachel, this is so embarrassing. I wrote the method, didn't I?
Where is it? One moment, please, for those who are listening and not seeing. The method is to charge the leys with positive energy, i.e. love. And the end state, Ben?
Fuck yeah. The end state is dark to light. That was seriously embarrassing. Ben, you call yourself a leader. Unbelievable.
Oh, it's amazing how these things go out of your head right at the time. It always happens.
And all leaders are fallible, and that means they are real.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best things you can be as a podcast host is compassionate as well. But to give people a framework, you just need the first step is get out there. Look for leys, understand where they are. One of the biggest questions we get asked, and Rachel, this is probably a really good one to throw at you, is how do you, apart from the skill of being able to see them and sense them, are there any resources that you know where people can go to and like put in their location and find out where leys are? Is this another thing we're going to have to build? There
are various websites, but every time I go onto them, it seems to be that they indicate the ones, say, that Rory Duff has mapped. And again, Rory's got a guidebook to ley lines, earth energies, and vortexes. And, you know, I mean, the way that he's mapped them out is spectacular. And you know, there's certain areas in England that are just like, it's grey from all of the different lines coming in. It's just one big grey.
Well, Bath is one of them. Bath is one of them.
Exactly. I wasn't sure if I should mention that. So there are references and there are resources, but what we're trying to do is help others. So we want volunteers to put together, you know, their own references. If Rory Duff can do it, we can do it. And if we can learn to do it by sight, it makes it even easier. You don't necessarily have to learn to dowse. I think that it's beneficial for people to learn both techniques, how to sight them and how to dowse. And just for people who may not be aware, we do have cryptochromes, flavor protein light sensors that are magnetoreceptive sensors in the retina, and humans have this heavily expressed in the retina. So we can see ley lines. It's scientific fact, just as, you know, pigeons and various creatures and insects and you know, many animals and obviously original peoples have been using these ley lines to navigate for millennia. We can see them. So if we go out and we find them, you know, you could say, get yourself on your phone, you can find out where your exact location is if you've got an app on there, and you could map it. Well, I found one here, and then you could get the coordinates and you know, obviously Ben and I can't do all of that, but we're hoping that we will have a whole bunch of people who are working as volunteers to go into those areas. We do also have 3 positions that we're trying to fill as part of this process too, that, you know, there's a webmaster, there's you know, the 2 other
social media coordinator and the volunteer coordinator. I mean, we need to be very clear that whilst we are the spark that lit the fire on this one, it's a global movement. Sorry, world movement. I don't want to offend flat earthers. My money's on disc at the moment, but that changes from day to day. But we can't do it all on our own, and nor should we, because this has to be a world movement. Everybody has to get involved. That's how it will work. I see myself as a wave 3. I'm a blow into this movement. I'm very new to all of this, and I make a joke of this in my talk that I give, that I look like a normie, I sound like a normie, and I dress like a normie, but don't let that put you off. We can get into places that you guys can't, but we need wave threeers, as it were. And what I mean by that is people with really practical skills to come forward. People who just last week were web designers, who are now awake web designers. We need you. We need you to come forward and help us build the technological tools that will allow us to knit this whole thing together. We need more than just love and light. We need more than just good intentions. We need all of that, but we need that welded to practical skills and practical intent that are going to enable us to get out and do this sort of thing. There is a rejection I've found in coordination within the freedom movement, because to a lot of people, coordination equals centralization. And it doesn't. It just doesn't. You can be individual, you can be sovereign, you can do your own thing while coordinating with others. And that's ultimately how we're going to win this thing, and why we have been losing this thing, because the 3,500 at the top of the node, they really know how to organize. They're very fucking good at it. If you look at how the structure of the electricity industry in the US, for instance, developed, you can see that it goes down both seaboards. It's a very alien thing, literally a very alien thing, the way that these things are organized. If it was allowed to go on a human scale, it would have just gone to population centers and where the electricity was needed. And it's why they're really, really good at organization and centralization, and they must have it that way, because they are run by alien forces. Whether it's a program, whether it's reality, not so sure. But we need people to come together and help us coordinate this stuff. And that means practicality. That means doing things. It means making lists. It means emailing. It means writing. It means organizing. All of the stuff that people do and hate in their work job, we need to do it, because we need to organize. So anybody out there who's got these practical skills and the will to use them, and the mindset that enables them to say, I'll do it, rather than being invited, that's what we need. You know, Rachel wasn't invited to start her many, many businesses, teaching many, many people very, very important skills. I wasn't invited to start a podcast. I just started it. I wasn't invited to start businesses. JFDI. I just fucking do it. So we need JFDI people. We need soldiers. We need leaders. We need cowboys. We need Indians. We need them all. So please, if you're interested and you can organize, you have skills which you can apply for the good of humanity, come forth. You will find a great home. And you'll be in at the start of something which is going to change the world. And I mean that literally.
It really is. That is so bloody good, Ben and Rachel. And like, I want to use this opportunity now to say thank you to the people who've tuned in, and to also say, if you haven't checked out the website yet, leylovedown.com, absolutely everything is on there. And like Ben and Rachel are saying, the positions are there. If you feel it in your heart and you've got the skills and you've got the time and you know that there's something that you want to be doing, check those out and definitely connect with Ben through the website, and Rachel as well. It's so important. So if it's lit a fire in your belly, definitely check that out. And while I'm chatting to you as well too, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in to this incredible episode with these epic humans on the screen right now, Ben and Rachel. As always, if you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. I always love hearing from you, and I know Rachel and Ben will as well too. And I really just want to say thank you as well, Ben and Rachel, just for doing everything that you are doing, for being the humans that you are, for bringing this to life, for lighting the spark, like you said, Ben, and just spreading what we need to be spreading right now. It's so powerful, it's so important, and it's so exciting. And like you both said as well too, this is something that's starting from the ground up. So for people who want to be part of this, and you feel that in your heart, this is what we came here for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you want to know where I got the line from? With a spark that lit the fire.
Tell me.
Star Wars.
Oh,
It's all in the movies.
which one?
They're all in the movies.
How did I not know that?
It's the middle one of the last three.
Oh, so the three before the original.
No, I say The Force Awakens, there's the middle one, and then there's The Last Skywalker, I think it is.
New Hope? Is it A New Hope?
No, so the most recent ones with Rey,
yeah, okay. I'm going to get shot by
Kylo
Star Wars
Ren.
people. Oh,
Well,
Kylo
I'm a
Ren.
Star Wars person, so you're lucky we're not in the same room. But yeah, that's where it's from. It's all there. I mean, I've been moved to rewatch all 9 Star Wars movies recently.
In one go?
And I know. In one go. Well, not in one go. I've got a 3-year-old. That would never work. But yeah, I've rewatched them in about 3 weeks. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. All of these things are coming back. All of these themes are coming back to the fore.
Yeah.
The Force is with us.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes, absolutely.
That's why we're going to win, because the Force is with us. It's not with them. And whatever force has been helping them, speaking in their ear, is about to go away.
100%. Sorry, guys. Been nice knowing you. I'm lying. It hasn't. But leave with love.
What's the saying? See you later, saddlebags. I don't know what that's from, though.
Neither do I. It might not even be a saying.
I don't even know if it is, but someone at work, when I used to work in the corporate world, would say it and thought it was hilarious, and it stuck somehow. So
Wow.
Yeah. These are the things. Oh my gosh, you guys are just bloody brilliant. I have just loved hanging out with you both. And I just, again, for anyone to connect, leylovedown.com. Is there any last words that you guys would like to share before we wrap up?
Just
save the ley lines, save the world.
Yeah. We could have done that all in unison. Are you ready? Do it in an accent though. Okay, ready?
Save the ley lines.
Save the world.
We want to be together. We just lost them.
We lost them right at the end there. Far out. Oh, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
They are done. Let us die.